Boxes, boxes, and more boxes. Hi kids, can you believe it? There are now 5 days left till Christmas. How many days? 5! Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. And if you're like me, there are so many boxes to pack because I have to put presents in these boxes and wrap them and get ready for Christmas. But kids, as I am putting candy and presents and toys in these boxes and wrapping them up in these pretty papers, I realized something. I realized that boxes are very much like houses. You might be thinking, I don't know what you mean, Pastor Anna. Well, let me explain. You see, kids, when we have boxes, we can put a lot of things in here. We could put toys, we could put presents. I think we could even put a sweater in this one to give someone. And in a very similar way, we can put a lot of things in houses. Basically, houses are bigger boxes where we can put our furniture and our piano and our dining table, and we can go inside the house. So boxes and houses, they're very similar. That is my one random thought this week. But speaking of boxes and houses, I am reminded of the house where Jesus was born. Boys and girls, 2 weeks ago, we started to learn how we can prepare for the coming of Jesus, and we began by learning about Mary and Joseph's obedient hearts. And then last week, we learned about how the shepherds heard God's message and the Magi saw God's sign to follow the star and see baby Jesus in Bethlehem. Well, today, we're going to talk about the house in which Jesus was born, also known as the stable. That's right, boys and girls. Jesus was born not in a palace, not in a home, not even in a hotel, but he was born in the stable, surrounded by smelly animals. How did that happen? Well, kids, we're going to learn that fascinating story today. So let's go and learn all about the stable. If you grew up in the church, or if you grew up in America, you probably saw a few of these nativity scenes. The nativity scene is what shows what the first Christmas might have looked like. Usually there is a stable and there are Mary and Joseph inside with baby Jesus inside of a manger, and they are surrounded by shepherds and the Magi, sheep and the camels, and of course there's a star too. And a lot of these nativity scenes also have angels surrounding them. You see, kids, we already talked about Mary and Joseph and the shepherds and the Magi. But there is something that is so important to the scene that we normally don't talk about, and that is the stable. Kids, the stable doesn't seem like a very important thing to talk about until you know the story behind Jesus' birth. Here is why. Mary was very, very pregnant. She was ready to give birth. She was so big, she could hardly see her own feet standing up. When Mary was just waiting for Jesus to be born, the government made an announcement. The government said, everybody needs to go back to their hometown because the government wants to count how many people are from each hometown. You see, boys and girls, Mary and Joseph were living in Nazareth at the time, but their hometown was Bethlehem. So what that meant was they had to travel back to Bethlehem along with hundreds of thousands of people. It's counting how many people are in the country is called taking a census. Nowadays, taking a census is super easy. It's as easy as mailing in a letter or going online to fill out a form. But back in Jesus' day, you could not do it that simply. Back in the day, taking a census meant you had to pick up and move to your hometown. And remember, kids, there were no cars or trains or even bicycles back in the day. It meant that they had to travel either on foot or on the backs of animals. This was bad news for Mary and Joseph, but Joseph, being the responsible husband and father-to-be, put Mary on a donkey and traveled all the way back to Bethlehem. It was a slow journey because Mary needed many breaks in between. When they finally got to Bethlehem, they ran into another problem. You see, so many people came back to Bethlehem, their hometown, that there was no hotel or no inn available. All day long, Joseph and Mary walked around looking for a room that they can rent. They must have not even had relatives at this point because they had nowhere to go. But wherever they went, the answer was the same. It was that all the rooms are taken, and there is no room for Mary and Joseph. They walked and walked and walked. They asked and asked and asked. It was nightfall, and Mary and Joseph were extremely tired and very disappointed. All of a sudden, Mary felt that the baby was coming. It was not a good time for the baby to be coming. Mary and Joseph finally arrived at the last inn that they hadn't tapped. With nervous heart, Joseph knocked on the door. After a long pause, the innkeeper opened the door and said, "Go away, there's no room." But Joseph grabbed onto the innkeeper and said, "Sir, please, my name is Joseph and my wife is Mary. As you can see, she is pregnant and she is about to give birth. We have been looking all day everywhere and we couldn't find any room. Please, just give us any room. I will take anything. I will pay anything. We just need a place to stay." The innkeeper saw Mary and started to have pity on the young couple. He realized that Mary was super tired and her feet were swollen too. The innkeeper said to Joseph, "Well, I feel really bad about that. Would you mind staying in my stable? That's really the only room I have. There are animals in there, but it could be kind of warm with the hay." At this, Mary and Joseph both said, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, we will stay in the stable tonight." And that is how Mary and Joseph ended up in a stable. Kids, the stable was filthy. No one was expecting for a family to stay here. There were cows inside, and sheep, and donkeys, and it smelled like poop. But it was warm because of the hay inside. Mary and Joseph finally got to sit down. And Jesus was born in this stable. Boys and girls, there is something I want you to know about this story. There were many houses in Bethlehem. There were many mansions and big buildings and many residences. But you see, there was no room for Jesus. And the only place Jesus could stay was in a stable. Of all those houses in the town of Bethlehem, the only place that had room for Jesus was the stable. What I think is very interesting is that many times in our lives, we don't have room for Jesus either. Have you thought about how many things we do each and every day? We eat at least 3 times, so we make room for eating. We play video games, we watch TV. Kids and adults alike love our cell phones. We get dressed, we go shopping, we talk with our friends on the phone, we do hobbies, we clean the home, we wash ourselves. We do 100 different things each day. But my question for you and me is there room in your day for Jesus? A lot of times, we forget to make room for Jesus in our lives. Now, boys and girls, boxes have rooms, houses have rooms, but we don't quite have room, right? So how is it that we can make room for Jesus? Well, I will tell you how. It's quite simple. You make time for Jesus. That's how you make room for Jesus. What I want to ask you to do this Christmas is, would you make room for Jesus in your day? And one of the best ways to make time for Jesus is to sit and read God's Word. So you know what? We're going to do that together right now because you and I all need practice making room for Jesus, especially during this busy time. I want you to go grab a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen that you can write with. I want you to go grab it right now. Yeah, right now. Go. Go get your paper and pencil. I will get mine too. Okay, I got my notebook and my pen. Now, kids, I'm going to put up a Bible verse on the screen for all of us to read. And this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put the Bible verse up on the screen and I want you to think about it and read it again and again and write it in your notebook. And you could even circle or underline or star the words that you really like. And then you can write a prayer on it. And we're going to spend 1 minute doing that together. So are you guys ready? I'm going to put the verse on the screen and I will put a timer. And for 1 minute, we're going to think about this Bible verse together and make room for Jesus. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, time's up, kids. I hope you spent that 1 minute really making room for Jesus and His Word in your life. I will share with you what I wrote just so that you know that I've been doing this too, and this is one way you could do it. So I wrote part of the verse here on my notebook, and I underlined the word rest. My prayer to Jesus today is, teach me your ways, Lord, of love, joy, peace. Kids, God has gifted you with 24 hours each day. And in those hours, we can put so many things in it. Would you make room for Jesus in your day? To think about Jesus, to read His Word, to meditate on His teachings, and to pray to Jesus just as He has asked us to. So boys and girls, the third way we prepare for the coming of Jesus is by making room in our day, in our schedules, in our minds, and in our hearts. Kids, as we have 5 days left till Christmas, let's not forget to not only pack presents, but make room for Jesus, who is, again, the reason for the season. Have a great week, everyone, and the merriest Christmas to all of us. Merry Christmas!